Ready to dive into something kind of different today? We're talking multilingual websites, specifically in Tanzania.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's more than just Hakuna Matata and safaris,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Like over 120 languages spoken in Tanzania, so that's got to impact how businesses do things online.
Absolutely. Makes you think way beyond just translating a web page, right?
Right. And that's why we're digging into this article from Simply IT, a digital marketing agency. They're based in Zanzibar, but work with businesses in Europe too.
So they're seeing both sides of the coin. The challenges businesses face in Tanzania and those global markets.
Exactly. And they threw out this stat that blew my mind. 40% of people won't buy from a site that's not in their language, right? Imagine that you put all this work into your website, but almost HALF your potential customers in Tanzania.
Mm.
Gone just because they can't read it.
It's such a good point about seeing this as an investment, not just an extra cost,
Yeah, like you're investing in reaching those people, making them feel understood.
which online is huge EE. Think about it. If a site's in your language, you're more likely to trust it, right?
Totally. Like if I see prices in Tanzanian shillings, dates the way I'm used to, it just clicks.
Exactly. It goes beyond just words. It's about the whole experience. Currency, date formats, even humor has to be adapted.
Oh, yeah. Humor can be so tricky to translate.
Right. I mean, imagine a brand using a slang word that means something totally different or worse, offensive,
Right.
in another language.
Ouch. Talk about a marketing fail.
And a quick way to alienate potential customers. You really hit on something earlier about the need for real people in this process.
Oh, 100%. Can't just feed everything into Google Translate and call it a day.
No way.
Yeah.
Speaking of things you don't want to mess up, the legal side.
Ooh, right. They mentioned EU e-commerce laws.
Yeah, because even though they're in Zanzibar, they're working with European businesses too. So they're dealing with all these different regulations.
Like a whole other layer of complexity.
Right, like data privacy, online payments. What flies in Tanzania might not in the EU.
So you could be a small business owner and not even realize you're breaking some obscure law on the other side of the world.
Exactly. And that's where having that expertise, knowing the ins and outs of both regions is essential.
Okay, so we've established multilingual websites are not just about being nice.
Right. It's way more strategic than that.
It's about reaching more customers, making them feel valued, and staying on the right side of the law.
It's about smart business, plain and simple.
And speaking of smart, we got to be thinking about the future, right? The internet's not slowing down.
No, it's only getting faster and more global.
Exactly. And the Simply IT article pointed to a report that predicts the top 10 internet languages by 2025. Get this. English is still #1, but after that, Chinese, Spanish, Arabic, Portuguese, Indonesian.
It's like the whole world is coming online.
It is. And businesses need to be ready, not just talking to their neighbors, but to a global village.
And to do that, you have to speak the language, literally and figuratively. It's like future-proofing your business, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And that makes me think about Zanzibar, because the article really focuses on that market.
Yeah, it's such a unique case study for this.
Right, because you have this blend of like traditional Tanzanian culture, but also this huge tourism industry.
Yeah. Exactly. Tons of people visiting from all over the world, speaking all these different languages.
So if you're a business there, you're not just thinking about Swahili, you're thinking about French, German,
It's like, how do you make everyone feel welcome on your website?
Yeah.
Because those tourists, they have options.
Exactly. So are there any sites you've seen that are nailing this, like really doing multilingual well?
Airbnb comes to mind. They've put a lot of effort into adapting their platform for different markets.
Oh, yeah. Like what kind of stuff?
So obviously they translate the listings, but they go deeper. Trying to use local slang, photos that resonate, even adjusting prices and payment options.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more about the payment stuff.
Well, someone in Tanzania might be more likely to pay with mobile money,
Right.
while someone in Europe might use a credit card. So Airbnb adapts to that.
It's all about those little details, right?
Totally. It shows you're really thinking about the user experience, no matter who they are or where they're from.
Now, on the flip side, any cautionary tales? Sites that totally miss the mark.
Oh, plenty. You see brands trying to cut corners with localization, bad translations, ignoring cultural stuff. It never ends well.
It's got to be so frustrating for users, too. Like if you're trying to book a hotel and the website is just a jumbled mess.
Absolutely. And for businesses, those mistakes can be costly. Damage your reputation, lose customers.
It's like the saying goes, if you're going to do something, do it right.
Exactly. Invest in quality localization from the start. It's worth it.
Totally agree. Now, before we move on, I want to loop back to something the article touched on, the cultural impact of all this.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other layer to this conversation.
Because it's not just tea about profits and businesses, right?
Think about it. If most of the internet is only in a few languages, what about everyone else?
They're kind of left out of the conversation, right?
Exactly. And especially in a place like Tanzania, with so much linguistic diversity, people need access to information in their own languages.
It's about digital inclusion, right?
Absolutely. And that goes beyond just websites. It's about making sure everyone has a voice online in a way they understand.
So it's not just about translating words. It's about preserving cultures and making sure everyone feels seen. It's like we talk about the digital divide in terms of access to the internet, but there's also this divide in terms of language.
So true. And it's easy to overlook.
It is. So bringing it back to Tanzania, what's at stake there if, say, Swahili gets sidelined online?
Well, think about it. Let's say you're a craftsperson in a village. You make these incredible things, and you want to start selling them online.
Reach a wider market.
Exactly. But all the resources, the how-tos, the platforms,
Yeah.
they're in English. Suddenly, that opportunity feels a lot smaller.
Right. Like there's this barrier in place just because of language.
And it's not just selling goods. It's accessing information, education, participating fully in this digital world we're building.
So it goes way beyond just websites at that point.
It does. It's about fostering this online space where everyone feels welcome, where you can find content in your language, connect with people who share your culture.
It's like the internet should be this melting pot of ideas and perspectives from everywhere.
Yes. And different languages are like different colors on an artist's palette, right?
Yeah.
You need them LL to create the full picture.
I love that analogy.
And to me, that's what's so exciting about this whole thing. It's not just about avoiding problems. It's about the potential. Imagine the creativity, the innovation that we unlock when everyone has a seat at the digital table.
It's like we can't even imagine what we're missing right now because of this language barrier.
Exactly. So to your point earlier about Tanzania, yeah, there's a lot at stake there, but also huge GE potential if they get this right.
Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive here,
Yeah.
what's the one thing you want our listeners to walk away with?
I think it's a call to action, almost. The next time you're online, notice the languages you see. Are some missing? Are there communities whose voices aren't being heard? And then think about what you can do, even in small ways, to make the internet a more inclusive place.
It starts with awareness, right?
It really does. Because the internet belongs to everyone, and everyone deserves to see themselves reflected in it.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder that. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.